Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, boys and girls. How are we all doing today? Yeah, excellent. I think. I hope. Hold on. Yeah, excellent. Is everything excellent? Everything looks excellent. Yes. Yes. Well, so today we are actually going to talk a little bit. Oh, excuse me. No. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Right. I forgot. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Um, I have to mentally psych myself up for this. Good good morning, mommies. I hope you are having a wonderful Sunday and that you will continue to work hard and be as beautiful as you've always been. That is life, isn't it? Anyway, so today we have a wonderfully sponsored broadcast about my art. Yes, isn't it wonderful? Yes. Can I? Oh, I can't. Oh, I can't. Oh, that's annoying. And I have a filter on here. And I have a color correction, aspect ratio, apply lookup table. No, it's not a opacity. Excellent. I can do that. Aha. Oh. Oh, we should just keep this in the future like this, right? Wouldn't that be interesting? Just keep this like sitting in the. Yeah. Okay. In that case, let me bring out the full strength seal, and then just bear with me for a moment. Oops. And yes, of course, today we are talking about my art because some wonderful people have sponsored a conversation about it. Now, I am aware that our sponsors who sponsored this actually do it because they want to laugh at me, and that's okay. That's perfectly acceptable because it's still fun for me to talk about my art, even though it'll get laughed at for most of the time, right? Okay, so let's put this here. Apply a filter to it. What filter was it? It was a color correction filter. And then we're gonna drop the opacity of it down to about there. How does that look? That looks good? Excellent. Okay, and now we're gonna lock that in place. Lock the disclaimer. Oh yeah, we're gonna lock that in place. Lock our backgrounds in place so we don't move them anymore. What is this that I'm touching? Oh. Right. Put that over there. Okay. Turn that off. Lock that in place. My face is locked in place. All of these. What is that? Oh, that. Right. For our for our YouTube, not YouTube, for our Minecraft stream. Okay, so let's talk about our art. When I say our, of course, I mean my art. Yeah. So in the past 2 weeks, I don't know why I have done it, but I've sort of started doing a little bit of like I don't even I hesitate to call it painting. And this is fairly embarrassing to admit, but I essentially I started watching Bob Ross. I started playing Bob Ross in the background. and well, I mean, obviously, I stopped because Bob Ross is incredibly distracting for me because it's really interesting what he can do with oil and just like his brush and like the knife just sort of going across the canvas and breaking, and suddenly it just looks very very realistic, right? And then some of the techniques that he uses, and some of you will have already seen this, uh, but really I've been applying some of mild bit of his technique. Oh, where? Excuse me. Oh, this is complete. My folders are completely messed up. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. I've been applying some of his like not his exact techniques, but some interesting versions of his techniques to the things that I draw myself, and so we've gotten things like this, and so stuff like this I want to talk a little bit about, right? Like it's it's very how would I say? Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yes, I mean I personally I very much like I very very much enjoy this, right? It's I I I will have trouble explaining sort of the feeling behind it because this is not something that I like. A lot of my art I don't do via feeling or emotion or meaning, but rather through simple application of technique and desire to see it happen, if that makes sense. Yes. Right, like so even and thank you, that is very very kind of you, and that is sort of the point of this, that um I mean, if you want to print off this, absolutely. Maybe I should do a price list that's specific to you guys. That would be rather interesting, wouldn't it? Ah, well, there's an idea. I mean, yes, you could theoretically just pirate it, but also it is on my Pixiv, Pijam. Yes, for those. Yeah, yeah, literally, it's on. I think. Oh no, it's on a lower resolution on Pixiv. Yes, I should be lowering the resolution of these, I think, when I upload them. That's probably not a bad idea. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, yeah. So all of these are online. I don't hold back on my art. I don't think that. Well, there's no artist's temperament for me, unless it goes into calligraphy. But we can talk about calligraphy later. How long have we broadcasted already? Oof, 10 minutes. Yeah. And nothing interesting was said at all. See, I preempted. I preempted that. Yes, 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 yes. Anyway, so like the particular of this piece, we started simply with a black circle in the center, and then one slightly circular line here, right? And it's just really interesting to me that sometimes my methodology of creating art really comes through simply letting it happen, right? And I don't want to overquote Bob Ross, but essentially, like, Like you just oftentimes you just keep moving the brush, because if the brush doesn't move, then nothing will happen. And so it's an interesting reflection of agency. Yeah, yeah, it is an interesting reflection of agency, and I think it is rather, how should I say this? I think it is rather important for at least for myself as an artist. What is this that I'm looking at? Oh, skyline. Oh, yeah. It is rather important for myself as an artist. Oh, or quote unquote artist. Yes, exactly. That um these things should then happen sort of organically, right? Like, I remember at the beginning I talked about the fact that I don't go into any painting with feelings in mind, and that is simply because it is too difficult. You're constricting yourself when you sit down and say, I want to draw this kind of emotion, or this is the scene. And a lot of the time, by predefining things like that, we are actually locking ourselves in, right? Like, there's a difference between, art with a purpose and art for expression's sake. And I think for expression's sake, um a simple self-expression, we don't have the need to do any of that, right? And so, yeah, exactly. And so let us move on. Oh, I need to put my face on top. Yes. Right, we do have to still talk about myself. We'll do that in the near future. And so this is, and I think we're going to start seeing a pattern to those of you who haven't seen my art. But essentially, see, it's kind of the same thing, right? This was October 28th, I think. This is October 29th. And again, we started with a simple form with a line in the middle, and then we simply, well, I mean, in this case, I yes, I Bob Rossed it. But I think I personally, I think it's interesting, right? Like, um I'm not talking about the should I say, I'm not talking about more than simply the look and feel of it, but rather the one quick second. I'm not simply talking about the look and feel of it. I'm talking about the process by which this particular piece happened, right? And to me that process is really interesting, because that is, again, right, like, I didn't start with any particular feeling in mind. I didn't start with any particular desires or emotions. It was simply a blank slate upon which we had created. We plopped down this black rectangle, and we plopped down this black rectangle, and then we um, put a line through it, and then we simply started moving the colors in such a way that it looked, I don't want to say it looked interesting, but rather that it gave off this yes, exactly. The same thing with can you guys see my mouse? Oh, you can't see my mouse. So I've been moving, right, I forgot about that. Let me just do this real quick. And then I'll just make it tiny, and the idea is I'll use this as my pointer, right? So you can see, I think, hopefully, yes, you can see my pointer like this. And so the same with this one, and the same with this one. We can see sort of the almost a simple black slab has been turned via application of brushes into something that looks organic, that looks not organic. That looks natural. That looks nature inspired. You know, like when I look at these two images, you know, I see this would be like a granite slab, right? And this would be like almost like a granite ball, a ball of polished granite. And that, yes, I realize how pretentious that is, but it's nonetheless it is what I feel this deserves, right? Like it's interesting. Of course. I'm so sorry. I'm not actually sorry. Okay, let's go to the next one. And starting these, we are starting to see a little bit more exploration. So those first two ones were an exploration of the technique, and then I would argue that starting from here, we're starting to look at things like execution and so execution and I still don't want to say story, but then now there is more behind it. Simply a black slab, pure application of technique, right? And so this piece, this is the day after this. This is, I've named this Sadako in this particular piece, and yes, exactly. The reason is quite simple. It's because um, after I was done, this reminded me of an eye in a circle and hair coming down around it, right? And so that became a inspiration for from the ring. Yeah, inspired by our beautiful little Sadako-chan from from the ring. But anyway, we're gonna hide that behind us because right, I remembered there was that and then we're going to skip over this one, and then we'll come to this one. Excellent. And so with our Sadako piece, I was inspired to attempt something slightly more different, and that's where this piece comes from. Just it's titled very prosaically. It's just opening the door, right? But it's rather interesting to me. Yeah, actually, that has been the comment, and that is what I was trying to get to. Is that it looks a little bit like a horror movie poster. And so it is. How should I say it? You can see very clearly that it's the exact same technique of painting, drawing that I've used here, and here, but it's used in such a way to create this rather interesting, at least to me. Okay, and here we get into pretentious bullshit. Not not pretentious, pretentious artsiness. Let's put it that way. And so, like, we look at things like the fact that this door is just not to perspective, right? Like this door is absolutely not to perspective. This corner is not how it's supposed to be. And then this curtain of light that comes down and then that comes out like this. And the fact that the texture of the light, right, both as it is on the ground and as it is coming through the door, makes it, at least to me, it makes it really, really that's it. Makes it Excuse me. Just had I have tea in my, like halfway stuck in my throat, and that's causing my voice to go weird. It makes it makes it surreal, right? There's a little bit of that surrealness to it, and and that's what makes it interesting. You can see the change in what is this? The change in material. It doesn't matter. All right, change in material that goes from here. Obviously, this corner was done badly, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so from Sadako, we sort of got highlighted from Sadako. We've sort of slightly moved on to a using this technique in an almost surrealist horror type um, scene. And also, I do want to mention that this is the first time I've used a frame like this. Do you see that? There is that white border that separates the picture itself from the black border, and the black border itself is very very standard to my pictures, right? So just an interesting thing to note. Well, interesting-ish thing to note. And so then we come to slightly yes. We come to a different type of painting, right? And or drawing, and it's this. And it's not that weird. Don't be silly. It's not that weird. It is. It might be a little bit weird, but it's not that weird. It is. So, this painting is titled "Reminiscence," and you. Obviously, it can't be. Actually, it could be a broken raptor, right? A broken oh, what was let me, was it F-22 raptor? Oh yes, it was the F-22 raptor. Yeah, okay, I'm not terrible then. Yes, the Lockheed Martin F-22 raptor. And so it's a raptor with one wing. No, no, obviously that's not what I intended. If you see a raptor, I am extremely happy for you because it shows the amount of childlike wonder that you retain, right? When I've shown this to people, some people have said it looks like a fish. I'm just walking around for a second. Give me 1 second. People think people have said that it looks. I'm just trying to grab something, but I can't find it. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So anyway, some people have said it looks like a fish. Some people have said it looks like a person, etc., etc. What I had intended, and now we are getting into sort of intentions. What I had intended when I started this was you can sort of see hair, right? If this is hair, and this is a dress, and this is the person's left arm, and the person's right arm is sort of hidden behind here, and so and obviously it's titled Reminiscence, so you can imagine that this is really a piece about memory, right? Like we have the Chinese we have the Chinese characters for reminiscence or nostalgia or thinking of past, that kind of stuff. But really, it is about the memory. It is about I suppose you could call it growing old, right? Like that can kind of work as well. Oh, I did that. One quick second. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it is all of those things kind of combined together, and I like it. uh, it 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 works for me. It doesn't have to work for you, obviously, but it certainly it works, right? Sure, we can talk prices about a print. No, you're not getting these for free. You wish. Dude, it, give back to the society that has fed you. Anyway, so this is what this is from the fourth. This is the last one I haven't done. I haven't done any after this. Just because I've been incredibly like caught in things. But you can kind of see the the technique is exactly the same. There is no difference in the technique, but we can see sort of the variance in what I've used, right? Like so far, really, I've only used two colors, black and well, three colors, black, white, and red. And this is the first time. Well, not really. There was red in here. If you notice, the edge of the doors are in red, and that's part of what actually made that appealing to me. Is to have the door frames in red. Anyway, I was going to say yes. But now this is the first time where all three colors are essentially intertwining into each other, and you can think of this as whatever you want, right? But obviously, the Chinese characters say blood, and what this more than any of the other ones, I had gone in wanting to do a specific thing, and then realized that I didn't have the ability to do a specific thing, and then it morphed into this, and I actually really like this. Exactly. It's like my boy, not my boy, sorry, my girl says that it's there are so many ways you can interpret this, right? You can see it as a planet. You can see it as a window, a circular window with the cross frames. You could see it as a crosshair, etc., etc. Yes. um, yeah, but the idea is that between the title, which is blood, obviously, and this, it's supposed to invoke a little bit of a. Whereas at least these three, maybe four, are wistful. I think this is again me attempting, but not really succeeding in capturing a sort of, how do you say, in capturing a sort of horror. I don't want to say horror, but like kind of horror feeling to it. Yeah, exactly. Like it's true, right? Like you could, if you tried really hard, and if I tried really hard to explain it, see sort of horror-ish elements to this, but I I it isn't exactly that, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. So now let's move on to something completely different. Well, in terms of art, it's not that different, but it's a little bit different. Uh, and that is this one. I am genuinely upset that people don't appreciate this as much as I do. So you guys will remember, obviously, that I do a lot of traditional calligraphy. For those who have joined who don't know what like traditional calligraphy I'm talking about, it is black ink and brush on paper, right? And so what I then do is I take a picture and I kind of upload it. And And this particular piece, yeah, I am just just a tiny bit upset that people don't appreciate it as much as I do. Because I really like how this turned out. Well, it's because oh, maybe I should let me put the actual Chinese characters in so that we can have a comparison. Okay. Oh, I need this in a different color. Where is it? This is color. Let's turn that into about that color. Yeah. Okay, and let me see if I can find a different font. Ah, I mean that's not bad. Actually, I kind of like this. Okay, so yes, I know they're completely different, but that's they're not, and that's my point. So in Chinese calligraphy, especially when we use Chinese characters, we have quite a few different ways. Sun is shining in Chinese. We have a few different ways of going about it. So this this we would call sort of kaiti, which is sort of a very we think of Chinese characters as very um strong, squared, and sort of hard. I I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, essentially we think of it as very much a hard not we think of it as angular. There we go. But that is not strictly true, especially when we start involving the brush. It is really only in very much more modern societies when this has become a thing. And you can sort of see it in here, right? Every line is straight, every corner is sharp. I can show you some sharper ones that I've written with a brush, and that also work really well. Let me see. Uh, something sharper. Something sharper. Kamisato Ayaka. No. Oh, I've changed my style with writing recently, and that's actually made it a little bit harder for to do it. Just give me 1 second. Let me. Oh wow, some of these are really ugly. uh, thank you for your misplaced. But okay, so when we say sharp, right? Like this is written with a brush, but you can still see sort of the sharpness here, and you can see why a horizontal line like this would look like this over here. You can see that I go from the bottom left to the top right, left to right, right, and look up bottom left to top right, and it's in every single line like that. Horizontal lines tend to be slightly slanted. Vertical lines have to be like dead straight. If they are not, then the character itself doesn't look like it's standing properly, right? So yeah, let me just. Excellent. Um, yes. Okay. So normal Chinese characters, the ones that we use on the web, and in messaging platforms tend to be straight and angular like this. But as we go faster and faster, as we write faster and faster, right? Like, oh yeah, why didn't I just, yeah, I could, if we use, excuse me, if we use Roman Latin calligraphy as an example, it is still very much the same thing, right? Like, um, for example, things like T or A tend to be very, very angular when we write them in block capitals. But when it gets to cursive, it's cursive, and therefore things start to curve. And so it's the same thing in Chinese with Chinese characters. When you write them in block capitals, in block form, in printed form, they are fairly straight and angular. But as you go faster and faster, as you write faster and faster, they become much more um, curvy, angular. But and unlike in English, in with Chinese characters, we tend to go really crazy in terms of simplifications. And that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make, right? Like, you see, this is 3 strokes. This has been replaced by a single stroke. The right part of this radical, it goes, oh right, these 3 strokes have been replaced by this 1 stroke, and then these 3 strokes, which is technically from the top right down to the left, and then left to the right, and then up, down, curve, and come up. That has been replaced by literally a single stroke, right? And so in this case, it's still from the top right down to the left, and then it's still from the left to the right, and then still down, curve, and then up. But you will notice that this is technically a stroke and a half, because I did lift the brush. You can see by the tail here, but the brush wasn't lifted fully, and it just got plonked right down onto the paper. Yeah, onto the paper, so it went bottom left, top right, and then down, right. And even though I did come up, by the time I had come up, the brush tip had already left the page, right? And the reason is so that the brush can then plop itself down onto the paper here for the horse. And this is another part where we just completely skipped, like, exactly, we skipped a lot of lines here. We certainly skipped this one, or I didn't technically skip this one, because you can see there's a little bit here. So the idea was, how I would write this in print form is 1 line down, and then 1, 2, 3 lines, 1 line down, and then you do this little thing, and then the 4 dots. So technically it remains, but you can see the line didn't actually happen because I lifted my brush before, and then the 3 lines got sort of converged into whatever's in here. And then the vertical line as well. The vertical line simply disappeared because I did this. Some amount here, and then start here, do this, and come back over this way, right? And by coming back over this way, we are completely just getting rid of the four dots. And so to me, this was a wonderful piece. This was a wonderful piece. There's a lot of to me, there's a lot of artistry in it, a lot of expression of thank you, you're too kind. You're much too kind. Regard regardless, that's not really what I meant. That's okay though. That's okay. Thank you. Can we just like drop this topic completely? Yeah. Okay, no. All of that aside, my personal inability to speak aside, my personal inability, like, okay, I'll insult you afterwards. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna we're just gonna mute this one person, and continue. Anyway, so yeah, I was going to say there is to me a lot of inherent artistry in calligraphy like this, and so it is a little bit of a shame for myself, not for myself, a little bit of a shame that it wasn't. Oh, what? Huh. Sorry, just one quick second. Okay, never mind. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a shame to me that not everyone really appreciated it in the way that I did, right? I think it would have been really great. I would have been very happy if people did. Is really that's all I'm trying to say with this. Yes. Yeah. But I mean, I don't blame them. Like there's no reason to blame them. It's it is art, and art is about the people, about perception, right? So something else, something that I so a lot of oh yes, we should talk about these two. So this is me writing the same thing 2 days in a row simply because excuse me. There we go. Simply because I didn't like it. So this is what it looked like on the first day, and this is what it looked like on the actually no, let's not talk about the second day just yet. So this is what it's supposed to look like, and this, excuse me, why am I not able to enter? Yeah, okay, let me just show what it's supposed to what it is in printed. Excuse me. Oh, why Microsoft? Lee. Okay. And so this is what it's supposed to look like. This is how I wrote it. You can see that it's again we talk about reducing the stroke count, right? And that is very much what I've done here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's sort of the beauty of it, that I can just do this. Oh, I can just do this, where normally this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes. I've literally used one squiggle to take care of that, right? And not everyone will be able to read this, but most people, like if you had the context. Oh, excuse me. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I needed to be bigger. If you had the context, even without context, this is such a this, and then this with this is such a classic shape that most people will simply like. If you know enough Chinese, you will simply be able to understand what it looks like, right? I think, or what it's the character that it's trying to say. Oh my boy, that just means you're bad at Chinese. What am I gonna say? What else am I gonna say? Yeah, how dare you? First of all, how dare you? Yes. Well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Um, but yeah, like it is. As in, like, I don't think that like Chinese is so complicated. Obviously, like character wise, it's so complicated that I think it's perfectly reasonable for us to, especially in the modern age where we can type so quickly, that it is eminently reasonable for us to have forgotten about something. I think that's completely fair, right? And so, like, it is what it is. And it is very much tautological, yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because it's unfortunate, but it is very much true that these are the types of things that we struggle with as a society, in being simply being able to understand ourselves and each other. And oh, good afternoon. It's true though. Yeah, I at least I believe it to be true, right? I believe that it's true that it is something that we struggle with. The more we do, the more we type. Yeah. Anyway, the idea or the point that I'm laboriously trying to get to, and oh, we're at 47 minutes. Excellent. We'll just end after we do these two and then one more. What was I trying to say? I genuinely can't remember. Oh, no, no, no. I was trying to say yes. We're going to the next one, and the Lee, and and this I didn't like so much. This I very much didn't like. You can see me desperately trying to fit all of the strokes into the character, even though I had no right to do so, right? And so, does that kind of make sense? Like, it when we're writing at in this type of font, when we're writing in this type of font, it isn't. It is no longer possible to try to fit in every stroke, right? Like we do, like we do here. Like it is eminently impossible to fit in every stroke, because if you did, it would just look like a mess. And that's exactly what happened here. Like, I tried to fit in every stroke. It doesn't look terrible. Thank you very much for saying so. It doesn't look terrible, but it looks busy and it looks uncoordinated, and that makes it bad, right? Whereas here, whereas here, um, so between these two, actually, I like this character, and I like this character. This one became a little bit tryhardy because of that, and because this the gold radical on the left, um, it lost a little bit of its zing when it, like, this one doesn't look like it's standing properly to me, right? Like, this one looks like it's leaning a bit, whereas this one's standing properly. Um, yeah, just that kind of stuff. And so, but we're talking about the second character now, which is Lee, and to me, this is just so much better, simply because I was more economical in my strokes, right? You can see that I was trying to do the whole box, like over here I was trying to do the whole box. and then the cross, and then everything underneath, whereas here we didn't bother. Like, everything of 26 more. Yeah, you like everything of 26 more. Excellent. um I can kind of see why. I just don't like the, like, of this, the first character. I just don't like the left radical as much as that, personally. But anyway, the y- yeah, Let's not everyone give an opinion now. You lot don't deserve to have an opinion. Anyway, so this is what happened, right? Like there was that, and then there was just a little bit time spent in the middle, and then we went directly into this bottom part, and that is a lot rounder. And you can see that this simply flows a lot better, right? Like this was one gigantic circle with another circle underneath, and yet I will bet you that most people will know exactly this character, right? Obviously, I think the right is a little bit smaller. I could have used something like this to make it a little bit bigger, obviously, but like at the end of the day, when we're writing this heavily cursive, it isn't. It's much more stylistic, I would say. Yes, much more stylistic. Yeah, yeah. It kind of has to be stylistic, if I'm honest, because if we're not, then it's simply not good. Oh wow, good sidewinder, my friend. That's a very hyper good morning. uh, but yeah, so when we're writing at this particular level, it is definitely a lot more stylistic than if we were writing, like I showed you the printed versions before, right? The printed versions are there is a lot more constraints in what would be considered good printed version of anything. And so when we get really heavily cursive, it is supposed to be stylistic, right? Anyway, so yeah, that was the point I was trying to make. Let's put this off to the side. Excellent. And let's have our last one of the day. Let me see. Something I don't like. Sure. Actually, I have the perfect example of that. I have the perfect example, and this is another name. I honestly don't think you guys care enough of a character in also from Genshin Impact. All of these are from Genshin Impact, by the way. Let me just write the Chinese down. Okay, so Sayu. Um, why I don't like this one is it comes down to a few reasons. You can see that the brush was. Oh, where's my? You can see that the brush was. Oh, my brush is also top. There we go. Um, this brush was very heavily. It was too dry for this particular bit, right? And so that broke it up, even though it wasn't supposed to, and this felt a little bit too angular, if that makes sense. Like, ideally, what I should have done is I should have done something like this, and then just come across along the side. But instead, what I did, and I know exactly what I did. I lifted, I put it down, and then I came to the left and just kind of like thunked, not thunked, thunked, plopped the brush on the paper, and then lifted, and then went straight down for the horizontal for the vertical line, right? But that's not cool. That's not cool. Also of note is the proportion, right? Like this bottom part is too big compared to the top part, and that makes it look lanky. I don't know if you guys will be able to see what I mean, but this character looks lanky to me, and that's simply because of the white space here, white space here. If the top had been bigger, if it had been like this big, like it started over here, and then we did that. That might have helped it look a little bit better. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, my brush was dry, and you can kind of see that, right? Like compare this with this, or with Toma here, or with any of these really. Like it sometimes loses its the wetness, but it usually when it loses it for artistic purposes. Let me put this to the top, right? Like this is fine here, this is fine here, this is okay here. Even this when you see a nice straight line like that, and some, oh, oops. I forgot my little pointer again. So I was talking about here, I was talking about here, and I was talking about the straight line here. When a straight line has a little bit of the dryness of the brush on it, that gives the impression of speed, and that's perfectly reasonable. Uh, it's just it just so happens that in this case, this doesn't really give the impression of speed. Instead, it gives the impression of you just didn't dunk your brush in properly. You didn't wet your brush properly, and that gives you like this kind of like ugly thing, right? And so everything about this character, it was it I should have done more, but I think I was just really tired on the 28th. I can't remember. But anyway, that's this character. Now let's talk about the second character. It's the same kind of thing, right? You can see that I tried to make the, because this square is basically the same as this square. You can see that I was better at the outer side of the square. But again, like the same thing up here as down here, I turned too quickly. And so the horizontal line that was supposed to go right across, it didn't. Right? And that gives the character a really, really weird look. I can't even explain it, because it's just like, it looks unfinished at this point, right? And this part looks unfinished, this part looks unfinished. And it just ends up being quite a little bit of a disappointment. Well, we'll put it that way, a little bit of a disappointment. Other things, this just looks like there's a cotton ball in here, whereas what we really want, and not to pull this out again, but take a look, right? This radical is exactly the same as this radical, so excuse me. And so you can tell that on this day my situation or my condition wasn't as good as it was on this day, right? Like this radical looks clean, crisp, the lines are sharp, whereas here, I don't know what happened there, man. Like I must have dawdled or something. Or something, because it really isn't supposed to look like that. Like all I can think of, the best word I can think of to describe it is cottony. It's not supposed to look that cottony, right? And so it's just eh, eh, you know. Yeah, it's not. It's if you have a change in direction, it, like, obviously what happened here was actually I pressed the brush too deep into the paper. That's definitely what happened. Whereas here you can see the brush didn't get pressed hard into the paper, so it moved really quickly. Yeah, and that's just muscle control, right? And obviously I have mild issues on that. We've talked about that in the past. So it doesn't end up being, you practice, you make the best of it. Yes, exactly. You just have to, yeah, it's really just practice. Anyway, oops, no, I don't want to delete that. I want to delete this. So yeah, that's it. Let's real quick go over what we've talked about today. We've talked about some Bob Ross inspired digital art. We've talked about my analog brush work. Where can you see this? You have the link. It is in the announcements, resources channel under artistic endeavors. Yes. Keep in mind though that the NDA applies, which means that you are not strictly allowed to follow those public social media channels for obvious reasons. Yeah, yeah. Like if you want to create a separate account that you don't do anything else with to follow it, I wouldn't be able to stop you, but you're not allowed to use your main, whatever, Twitter, blah blah blah, to follow that for very obvious reasons, right? Yeah, cool. Any other questions before we end for today? Excellent, excellent. Actually, we could probably do these on stream, no problem, because that's just done on the iPad. If I wanted to do these, I would have to find a different way of setting it up. Yeah, but it's not undoable. It's just not something that I'm particularly interested in doing. What the? Anyway, no, that's fine. That's fine. No, nothing wrong. Everything is good. Just emails. Okay. Well, that's it for today then. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Any other questions? No, excellent. Good. Good. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you very much for watching, everyone. You know, as usual, please download Firefox. Please don't do Chrome. And I have wasted how much of your time today? An hour and 2 minutes of your time today. So thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good day, Sidewinder.